Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Our esteemed view of Salam TV. My name is Muhammad Sekalala, your host for the show, and in this Monday episode, of September 2024, corresponds to the 27th of Rabiul Awwal, 1446. In the aspects of science, we want always to help our viewers to appreciate the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put multitudes and millions of creatures in the world and in the universe. Why? For us to appreciate is the perfection of creation. Secondly, appreciate the fact that if we do not worship Allah in the best way, then Allah has a lot of creatures that worship Him. So all the creatures that we know and those that we don't know of, Allah has told us perfectly in the Quran that we worship Him and we respect His order perfectly. So as human beings, we are also trying to different parts of the world for you to have different creation. So we have been looking at a series, or we are looking at the series to do with natural wonder of ocean life, and to always appreciate these aspects of science, we are joined by our seasoned guest and brother Hamza Sekalala, who is a lecturer at the Islamic University in Uganda, whom I'm going to request to introduce himself, then we shall start.
Naam, alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalam ala rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the opportunity to be here, and we are alive and well. There are other people in other countries that are facing bombardment, they are facing displacement, and they didn't commit any particular crime for Allah to subject them to that test. So whenever you are in an advantageous position, you simply say Alhamdulillah. And we ask Allah to give us the benefit of the knowledge that we share, so that it can increase our iman and bring us closer to Him through the knowledge, inshallah.
Thank you very much. So viewer, that is our guest, Mr. Hamza Sekalala. Remember, if you miss out on the earlier episodes, kindly visit the Salmon YouTube page, type Alhidaayah, and then you will see the different topics that we've covered in the past. For those who are just joining us, we have looked at octopuses, we have looked at sharks, and last week we looked at the herring fish. The sardine fish. Today we are going to be looking at the salmon and then the sea turtles. Those who have been those who have attended geography in high school, I think the commonest answer or fish species that we could always be told was salmon fish. And today we want to look at what are the wonders that Allah has placed in this fish. So, Mr. Hamza, for starters, salmon, we know it as the fish type that we've covered, fish in British Columbia, and for those who have studied geography. But perhaps this show helps us to digest and try to go through some of the interesting things, some of the interesting facts about these creatures. So today we are looking at salmon. Can you start us off on the salmon fish? Interesting facts of each other.
About this salmon. Now, alhamdulillah, this salmon is one of the fish, and it's a special kind of fish. I don't know that there is any other. For it lives in both the sea and the fresh water. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given it adaptation for both. Because for the majority of other fish, they are either in the fresh water, so once you put them in the ocean, the salt will simply become a problem for them, so they wouldn't be able to survive. Then in case you pick a shark and put it in the fresh water, it could also fail to survive. This salmon is able to survive in both environments, so it can survive very well in the ocean and at the same time survives very well on land. We have also selected these two creatures because Allah has given them something in common. As we shall see in detail, they only produce from where they were produced from. So it is a very interesting characteristic. For them, they only produce from where they were produced. So however much of a distance it has to go back to that same spot, that area where it was produced, that is where it can lay its eggs, and its descendants will also arise from there. The same thing applies for the sea turtles, and it is why we are combining them together. So this salmon is one of the fish, and since it has both ocean and river life, it provides food for human beings, even bears and other creatures that live along the rivers. They all benefit out of the existence of this fish. A fish that is compelled by the design of Allah to always move from the ocean and move upwards until it reaches the particular spot where it was hatched from, and that's where it will lay its eggs to start off a new generation. So that is the salmon. Possibly our selector could show us a few of the images. That one's when they are climbing upwards. So remember, the rivers flow from inland and they reach the ocean. So it is a downward flow. But now the salmon has to go up the river. So you'll find them facing those kinds of scenarios where they have to jump against the rapids. Because you can see these are rapids, very fast moving water, but the salmon has to move in the opposite direction. So Allah has given them adaptations to achieve all those kinds of maneuvers, as it were.
Wow, mashallah.
There
must be some interesting pictures.
Yes.
They can live both in the freshwater
And in the sea.
Wow, I was also reading something about you know, all creatures have life cycles. You find that they also have an interesting life cycle. And for them, there is the egg, alvin, fries, not an adult. So they have about 5 different
stages of growth.
So, but you find most of the insects, they have 3. Then for these fish, I think we saw there were 4 stages.
Yes.
And this one has 5. Like,
so you see that salmon there, that's a closer a picture that shows us how it appears in actual sense. The other picture where we had the different colors, you realize that those salmons don't maintain only one color. As it grows, it changes. So the color that is at the top is when it's very young, and it tends to have that metallic kind of appearance. Then as it grows older, it begins to change color and becomes red, like what you see there. Then when it is time for spawning, the red becomes another color altogether. So it keeps changing its color. It is not changing the color like what we saw for the octopus, because for the octopus it very rapidly changes to adapt. But this one takes that as a permanent color, although it changes depending on the different stages of its life. It keeps changing. So that is the salmon. Now this salmon here, a few other interesting things about it. It also has many different types. Just as we saw sharks and other creatures, they are saying they are up to 6 different types. This one does not have very many of them. There are just 6 different types, and each one interestingly has totally different features. You can think it's a different fish altogether, but it is all essentially the same salmon. So we have seen one, they live both in seawater and also in fresh water very comfortably. They don't face any problem there. The second factor is that as they grow, they keep changing color. We have seen the different colors, as you can see. Then the other interesting fact about this salmon is their ability to, first of all, go against the current and to also jump. Because remember that if you are going against the current, possibly you could manage. But if you reach a situation where you have rapids, the water is falling some distance downwards, and you are supposed to be moving upwards.
Moving upwards,
so
yes.
like what you are seeing there.
Wow.
There's no way that salmon can peacefully swim within the water,
Within the water.
cover that distance that the water is falling.
Yes.
So Allah has given it an ability to jump.
To jump.
So it can jump that entire distance instead of swimming until it reaches.
So it will go into the calmer waters.
Into the calmer waters and continue swimming upward until it reaches the point where it is supposed to be producing from. And it's through those jumps that the bears are able to find them there. You'll find that the bears, for them, they just wait.
Yes.
At those rapids. They don't need to put in a lot of effort to go and look for the salmon down there. They simply wait at the rapids as the salmon jumps in order to reach the higher level. The bear simply grabs it and it's able to get a meal there. So that is another interesting feature
thing
of
the salmon.
Being able to swim uphill is already tough enough.
It's tough, yes.
Ability
to jump
such big distances, it is something that we need to be appreciative of.
Wow.
The other factor about these salmons is that, like we have seen, they only produce from where they were produced from. And in order to achieve that, they move extremely long distances from the sea into the river and going up river until it reaches the particular spot. One interesting case that was really on the extreme.
Yes.
The salmon was not born directly in the river.
Yes.
It was born in a small pond that had been created off the river a bit, but it was connected to the river.
Yes.
Now the salmon returned at a time when they had changed the pond. It was no longer connected to the river. They had blocked it, so it would become like a full pond where you don't have connection to the river. But it's reported that the salmon jumped all the way from the river
to the pond
in order to reach the pond, meaning the order of Allah for these creatures, you must produce from where you were produced specifically. Because you would think the salmon would say, but now there's no more room here, the pond is the other side, but now there's nothing to connect the salmon jumped.
Doesn't that qualify them to be some of the most intelligent creatures we have?
Ideally, they may not be using necessarily intelligence. I hear they use the Earth's magnetic field in order to position themselves. You realize that we human beings, when we are positioning ourselves, we now use GPS. So meaning wherever you may be, you based on the coordinates on the GPS receiver, and you know I'm now here, I'm 40 meters from where I was. But now this one uses the Earth's magnetic field, meaning it's able to detect with exactness the exact point where it was born. But you can see that effort of jumping. Of course, we've seen that they can jump far big.
Of course, yes.
But it was still able to jump and reach the particular man-made pond in order to fulfill
its natural order.
So you can see that these creatures, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them the ability to implement His commands to the dot. They do not resist. That is why we as human beings should worry. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designs the world for us, gives us rules that we are supposed to follow, and we keep breaking them. Causing problems to ourselves. But these creatures, for them, everything that Allah has commanded them, even if it means moving 1,000 kilometers,
1,000 miles, yes, to the spot,
they still have to do it and get there. The other interesting thing is its capacity to smell. We saw that sharks can be able to do some very good smelling. This one has a mega capacity to smell. It is said that the Atlantic salmon can smell one drop of scent, meaning in case you got some perfume and you dropped it, it can sense that smell, that drop in an area, the equivalent of 10 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Now an Olympic-sized swimming pool is nearly the same, I think, as a soccer field.
Yeah, almost.
They are nearly all the same. Imagine you have 10 soccer fields, same football fields, and you drop one small perfume drop in the water here, the salmon throughout that entire area is able
Can
to
detect the scent.
kind of smell.
Oh wow.
So that is a very interesting capacity by this creature that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has created.
Wow. MashaAllah. Oh, Salmon should have very many interesting things. So viewer, we are looking at salmon. Of course, to those that have studied geography or the history of those North American countries, you find that the commonest fish species or type that was being mentioned was the salmon. But then we're only looking at factors for is it for the success of the fishing industry, then what products were coming out from then. But when you go into the details and perhaps some of the interesting facts, some of them were not being captured. But today we are seeing that one, they they live both in fresh and marine waters, right? Secondly, they have they also have 6 species, just like most of the creatures Allah has made. Then they have the ability to jump. If the water is coming upstream and is going perhaps into the ocean, you find that from a river going into the ocean, and this salmon wants to go up, it won't manage that pressure that is coming with the water, and what it does has to jump and go into the calmer waters. You find all those are things that are really interesting. But the one that is so interesting is the ability for them to go back and produce where they were born. It is a natural command that Allah has given them, and for us as human beings, we are in the business of breaking rules and distorting Allah's natural setup. But you find that these creatures, they have the ability, and they are doing or following to the dot the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Perhaps should be a lesson to us all that let's try as much as we can to fulfill and respect Allah's order that He put for us in nature. Mr. Hamza, as we are preparing for a short break, do we have I don't know whether we shall see the benefits, the values at the end of having seen the sea turtles, but if you wouldn't mind, we could share 1 or 2 before we go into the break, and then come back and see the sea turtles as well.
Okay, we can just look at a few more things about the salmons. One, of course, which is also a benefit, is
yes,
that they are a major part of the economy of British Columbia.
Okay.
That's the way it is called.
Yes.
So British Columbia has its economy largely depending on this salmon,
Wow.
which is a major benefit for them. So that is one thing. Then the other thing is that word, the salmon, the name of the fish was derived from its capacity to jump.
Wow.
In Spanish, jumping is called salmo. So they simply added an N and it became a name
Wow.
of the fish. And that's by the one thing about language in this issue of science. And you realize that we struggle a lot to memorize the names that are provided from the European languages. And you find for them, these names don't even need to be crammed. Because
Yes.
if salmo is to jump.
Yes.
And that's the name of the fish which jumps. It means for the Spanish
Latino,
speaker,
yes.
it's not a problem.
It's not a
They don't
problem.
need to struggle to remember the word salmon, because it is just a word in their language. And unfortunately for us here, it becomes a big problem.
I was watching the news yesterday, and it was the International Day of Translators, and I think they launched an association of translators. Perhaps with time we shall be moving into having our indigenous and local names.
Ways of referring to these things. Otherwise it becomes a problem. So that is essentially what we can say as characteristics of salmon.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get some of the benefits
So,
of eating
so viewer, we are
salmons.
looking at Islam and science, and we are telling you that the main reason why we bring up these things is for us to appreciate and know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put different kinds of creatures with different capabilities, different characteristics, for us as human beings to appreciate that Allah has the power to create and secondly has a natural order that he wants for all creatures to follow. Now if as man we try to distort and do not follow the order, then the trouble comes to us, and which as a Muslim Allah subhanahu has cautioned us not to put ourselves in danger. Actually, there's a verse that says, "Oh, you who believe, respond to Allah's call when He invites you to that which gives you life." Right? So it means whatever we do when we respect Allah's order, it means we shall live our lives perfectly. But the moment we do not respect, we shall be in trouble. So, Mr. Hamza, in a minute.
So the nutritional benefits are essentially
yes
the same as the ones for
the other fish types.
The fish that we saw. There is omega-3 fatty acids, and I think that one's now a challenge for us who don't have access to oceans. You realize that the fish that we consume here may not be having some of these very interesting fatty acids.
Yes.
That one's one of the things, and we saw the many benefits of this fatty acid. It has something to do with weight control, etc. So many things.
Yes.
Because you realize here, when we try to do weight control, we do mainly jogging and other very difficult ways of weight control, but sometimes just diet is sufficient. Then also protein, like any other fish, we have protein there. We also have vitamin B. Vitamin B is also one of the very important vitamins, which does a very big job in turning food into energy. It's also very useful in creating and repairing DNA. DNA. Then also chronic inflammation is also eliminated by this vitamin. So these fish, because I think they survive in a very difficult environment within the ocean, Allah gives them some of these chemicals within their bodies, as it were.
Wow.
So this is a video that would summarize the salmon's life. They also migrate in large groups. They don't move in singularity.
Okay.
So although each one is going to a particular destination, they tend to move in large groups, as you've seen. So
MashaAllah.
It goes through the
MashaAllah, alhamdulillah. Okay, so viewer, we are looking at Islam and science, and particularly we are looking at natural wonders of the ocean life. And for those that are just joining us, we have been looking at a number of ocean living creatures. We looked at the octopus, the sharks. So today we are looking at the salmon fish. We've had some interesting discussion from the start. Inshallah, we'll be continuing from there when we come back from the break.
Eno, yes, Salam TV.
People of Gulu, you're welcome. We are rewarding back to one of our parents who used the Momo to pay school fees.
I am Oliel Vikio Tim. I work in Manuel Junior School as the head teacher. This parent was not able to come for this award ceremony by MTN because she works in South Sudan and it's very expensive for her to come. So we are able to get the guardian who has come.
Feel very happy. Momo is good. It is not a fake program, but it is a good program.
All the schools around, we're also coming there anytime. Let our parents continue using Momo. You can decide to pay in 4 installments. We have records where schools have statements of payments to confirm payments.
Together, we're unstoppable.
Let's live it up and party and have cracking good fun. When it comes to edutainment, DSTV's #1.
Is everybody ready to go?
We've got the zaniest characters to transport you away. The party is cracking, so why not come play? You're gonna love it. We've got so many channels and a ton of new shows, like Disney and Nickelodeon, where anything goes. So live it up with DSTV. We bring the fun. You know we're #1.
Salaamu egabudde oli munna bizinesi oba olina ekitongole ekiwa obuweereza obw'enjawulo nga weetaaga kimanyike mu buli maka mu ggwanga lyonna. Salaamu TV ekuleetedde enteekateeka ya Salaamu egabudde. Guno gwe mukisa gw'ofunye by'otunda ne by'okola birangibwe ku TV yaffe Nganzi wamu n'emikutu gyaffe emigatta abantu gyonna. Weegatte ku bukadde n'obukadde bw'abalabi baffe okwetooloola Uganda yonna, era bizinesi yo yeeyongera okumanyika nga bw'onyumirwa emiwendo egisaliddwako osobola okuganyulwa okwannamaddala mu kulangako. Tosubwa omukisa ssemakisa guno ogukuweereddwa. Okumanya ebisingawo tukubireko leero ku 070 54 76 09 oba 0783 27 21 34. Salaamu egabudde ku Salaamu TV, olutimbero olw'emirembe.
I'm one of the scientists now doing research on plastic technology recycling, where we can be able to produce other products from plastic waste. For example, we are trying to develop a plastic tile with sand plastic tile, that it is unbreakable, it can be shifted from one roof to another. So this is a project we are working on. It's our initiative as Kazire Group of trying to reduce waste from the environment. Brothers and sisters, Taso Butonde for a better Uganda.
This message is brought to you by National Environment Management Authority, Kampala Capital City Authority, Vivo Energy, Airco, Pepsi, Stanbic Bank and NBS TV.
Eno ye Salam TV.
Now that they've come back to power, how will...
Naam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Dear viewer of Salam TV, we want to welcome you back from the short break and thank you for keeping it with us from where we started. This is the Alhidaayah show, where we look at Islam and science. My name is Muhammad Sekalala, and in this show we always look at things that Allah has put for us in the universe, in the world, to appreciate and better understand the way we should worship Him. The main takeaways for all that we are seeing is the fact that Allah has created this natural order system, for which if we maintain the balance, try to copy and perhaps appreciate the way things are done, we'll become better worshippers and better Muslims. But the trouble we have is that we'll have a lot of experimenting, we'll have a lot of discovery, which is not bad in its end, but you find that most of the time we are distorting the natural order. So to help us understand and try to make sense of some of the creatures that Allah has put in the world, we are always joined by our guest, Mr. Hamza Sekalema, to share with us some of the interesting things about creatures, some of the things that we need to appreciate and know as Muslims. In the first part of the show, we were looking at the salmon fish, and we ended on a note that says the main thing you should note is that they breed, or they stay both in fresh and marine water, and then they have the capacity to jump from one maybe area of living to another, right? If, for example, they're in the ocean and they want to come back the fresh waters, and there's disturbance in between, they can easily jump over and then get into this new environment. So, Mr. Hamza, I want to flip the coin and see the second creature that we had put on the screen for the viewers, which is the sea turtles. What are these, and what is interesting about them that the viewers should look forward to?
Now, sea turtles are also creatures of the ocean, as it were.
Now,
we are used to the tortoise, which we know very well here in Uganda. I think we even have children's stories referring to that tortoise.
Okay.
The tortoise, which is located on land, for it defends itself using that
hard shell.
That shell. So it has capacity to go into the shell and hide, so that you cannot even tamper with it.
Okay.
But for these turtles, they have that shell, but they don't have capacity to go and hide into that shell. So the shell is simply on top, but so you can see that is a picture of this this creature. They are considerably large, but they stay in the ocean. And as we shall see, just like the salmon, they also only breed from where they were born. They don't go into any other area. So let's look at some of the interesting things about these sea turtles.
Yes, please.
One, the sea turtle has been around for very many years.
Wow.
It is reported that these sea turtles were around with the dinosaurs. Now the dinosaurs even disappeared. We don't even have an example of just one of them. But during that time when the dinosaurs ruled the world with their heavy weight and a lot of very violent behavior, these sea turtles were there around 110 million years ago. When we talk of this period that a creature has been on Earth, we always remind ourselves that the human beings have not even clocked 300,000 years. So you can see that they have spent a very small time. So we have noted that one of the very interesting thing about these sea turtles is that they are only born on the beach. They only lay their eggs on the beach where they were born. And once they lay their eggs, they simply go away. So the young ones have to crawl like what you have seen. This is a mature one moving within the ocean, and you can see that they are very good at swimming. So, first thing, they have been around very many years since the time of the dinosaurs, 110 million years. Then number 2 is the size. These things are extremely large. You can see when they are born out of eggs, so they are very small. Just see the way they start their lives. But once they grow into mature turtles, they can reach up to 1 ton. Now 1 ton is a clean 1,000 kilograms. So 1,000 kilograms, which creatures can make that? Cows don't usually reach that kind of weight.
400 kg.
So meaning the thing is as heavy as 5 cows, 5 serious cows. So that is the weight of this sea turtle. And possibly that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept most of these within the ocean. Because once you are in water, things are a bit simpler. However heavy you may be, you are able to move. That is the other fact about these sea turtles.
Then something about the height. With the huge size, they also have some kind of length, or
they didn't give a specific definition of length, but the weight is a clean 1 ton, 1,000 kgs. Then the other thing is that they eat a variety of things. They eat jellyfish. We didn't look at jellyfish, I think, as yet. We shall look at it. Crabs, lobsters, most of those creatures that tend to stay on the surface of the ocean, it is they are able to eat them.
Oh, they also have different species, over 7. Wow.
They also have a good number of species or different types.
Wow.
Although, like we said, we human beings are a very big problem to other creatures. The interference with the ocean environments is causing most of these sea turtles to slowly become extinct. Sometimes they are caught in fishing nets. Of course, some human beings resort to eating the eggs, and a few other problems that these creatures are facing, all arising out of human intervention. But ultimately, of course, there are conservation efforts, because these creatures, for us, we don't seem to understand that they play a very big part in keeping our oceans alive and well. Once we antagonize them, the ocean becomes very unstable, and the repercussions are major. Then we've seen that they do only produce from the area where they were produced, and in that case, they therefore need to move. Sometimes they cover thousands of ocean kilometers in order to reach that particular beach where they were born. And we have seen that once for it comes and lays the eggs, it simply leaves them there. It does not nurture them like what we see in these other creatures. So the eggs will reach the point of hatching, they hatch, and interestingly, they largely hatch at the same time. Then those young ones instinctively know that the race is to swim towards the ocean. So they move towards the ocean. Of course, some of them are eaten by birds and other creatures as they move to the ocean, but a good number reach the ocean Then they go into the ocean and begin their life without any support from the mothers.
So the main difference between them and the salmon that we saw is for them they largely stay at the beaches.
For them they do their laying of eggs at the beaches.
Wow.
And essentially the young ones now will move towards the ocean just instinctively. They don't have any, Allah simply has ordered them that once you are born, face the water and move. And you can see they already have capacity to move, because you know very well that for many other creatures, including human beings, they have no locomotional ability at the time they are born. They have to just learn. But whenever Allah has given a creature a task, He also gives it facilities to enable it to execute, because Allah is the most merciful.
There's something you were trying to compare for us, this salmon and the sea turtles. And then in the salmon, so they use the earth magnetic field. Is it the same case with
the same thing is used by these sea turtles? Because remember, they are moving 10,000 kilometers over the ocean. Even if you are just on Lake Victoria and you leave, you reach the horizon and you are no longer seeing the land, you can't even know where east is and where west is. You will simply get lost unless you have some kind of GPS or compass. So these creatures, all of them, you can say that Allah uses the same mechanism of the Earth's magnetic field in order for them to sense, and they are able to position themselves up to like 1 centimeter or 1 meter from the position they want to be in.
By the way, when we talk about the magnetic field, what is this? Maybe magnetic.
Now you realize
we don't know physics.
Now you see, our Earth is a ball.
Yes.
And that ball has 2 end points, which we call poles. Like the way you have, like there you have a magnet. One side is called the North Pole, the other side is called the South Pole. So the same thing happens with the Earth.
Okay.
But apart from the poles, the entire planet has lines of magnetic strength. So these creatures, Allah has given them ability to detect the magnetic strength on each of those lines, so that it can position itself and know that the place I was born has a strength of maybe 600 by 400, so it will follow that strength distribution until it reaches that point and it knows that this is where it is. The same positioning system is used by these pigeons and other birds that, you know, very well, for them they are able to go back. Even if you buy a pigeon from Ginger or even Mbale and you come with it here,
even dogs,
they are able to position. They don't need to cram the way and say there was a building. No, for it. Once it flies like this, it begins to sense and know that I have to go this side, the field is reducing in this direction, so it goes until it reaches that point, it senses this is where I was, and it will find its home there.
Wow.
So that is a very interesting thing. So they use the magnetic field in order to travel those very large distances across the ocean in order to go back and perform their task of reproduction. Then they are saying there are 6 or 7 different species of the sea turtle, and all of them are classified as endangered. And they are not endangered by any other creature apart from the human beings.
So in other words, the other creatures, they will just continue what they know.
They don't go beyond to the level of threatening the existence. The other interesting fact about these sea turtles is that for them, their gender is determined by the temperature. Their sex or gender is determined by the temperature in the sand where the eggs were laid. And that is the problem why we are saying human beings are causing extinction of this creature. Remember, for it, once the place is warm, they become female. Once the place is a bit cool, they become male. Now it means if you generally warm the ocean environment, you are now condemning these creatures to always producing one gender. And you know very well that reproduction needs two. So if you are having a bias towards either male or female, you are essentially sabotaging the creature's ability to survive. But we human beings don't seem to understand that, and we wake up very late when the planet has already rebelled against us, and we see a lot of problems. And unfortunately, people are simply looking at economics and other things and forgetting that ultimately this planet does not need us for it to exist. The other creatures can resume, because these turtles were around at the time of the dinosaurs and they are still around up to now. So I do not believe that human beings can cause them to disappear before the human beings themselves have gone away. Allah can maintain them, but it's important that we understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates these creatures as a lesson for us. He could have made any other thing, but he created them and made them something from which to learn. So human beings are poaching them, they are destroying habitats, they are using these queer nets that keep entangling into these creatures and causing them to die. Then there is, of course, climate change, which you know very well, and all of these are causing a lot of problems to the sea turtle. So that is a brief summary of that creature. We have seen how it, the weight, we have seen how it moves very large distances, how it only lays its egg on the same beach where it was produced from, and a few other interesting things.
Wow. So as we are preparing to go into the last part of the show, you're going to share with us perhaps some of the value benefits that we can look forward to these turtles. So aside from ensuring there is a balance in the natural environment, perhaps there is some scientific research that has been done to see that these are of human value and benefits. So viewer, we are in the Alhidaayah show, where we are looking at Islam and science, and largely looking at natural ones of the ocean life. If you have been with us from where we started, you've seen that we are trying to appreciate and understand the different creatures Allah has put in the waters, especially the oceans. We haven't yet gone to the fresh water, though today the Salmon has forced us to go a little bit onto the fresh waters, but our focus of late is largely the ocean, and we have seen octopuses, we have seen the sharks. Now we are looking at, last week we saw the sardines, today we are looking at the salmons. Main thing to appreciate is the fact that they all have a system of life that Allah has done for them, that we as human beings need to appreciate. To one, if you contemplate and really focus on how Allah has done the things, it will help you to know that Allah doesn't do things out of guesswork. They are intentional, and as a Muslim, try to understand that by worshipping Allah, you are fulfilling His natural setup. If you do not worship Allah, then there's something you're missing out. These creatures have shown us that if you follow Allah's order to the letter, you end up succeeding and having a perfect life. So we are looking at
the importance of these sea turtles.
The sea turtles, yes.
One is they help us in controlling the numbers of their prey, the things that
control prey.
So they control some of these creatures, the numbers of creatures, like for example jellyfish. We shall look at jellyfish. They appear to be very innocent, but they are very dangerous. But the sea turtles eat these jellyfish, so they control their population, and we have a healthy number. Then they also provide food for creatures. You see, we've seen that when they hatch, of course, because there's a high chance of these hatchlings dying, they produce them in big numbers.
Okay.
So every time the sea turtles come to the beaches and lay eggs, it provides food to other creatures, birds, fish, and so many other of them that survive.
So it means if you reduce the population of turtles,
you are
also affecting
those creatures there. Then, of course, they are an economic source. For example, people pay money for tourism, watching them, and etc. So some countries do benefit out of them. They also help us by feeding on the grass that is within the ocean. Remember, we saw that oceans have real vegetation at the bottom. So to keep that vegetation active and beneficial, which is a very important source of oxygen for us. These sea turtles are able to graze just like the way you see cows and other creatures that graze on the land. These ones go and maintain that seabed, ensuring that it is rejuvenating each time they come and graze. We have that rejuvenation.
Wow.
Then the nutrients left behind by eggs and hatchlings that don't survive provide an important source for coastal vegetation. So those eggs and etc. Vegetation benefits out of them. So they are a very important part of our both the land and the ocean, because for them they do their reproduction on the land, but they go back to the ocean immediately and spend some good number of years until they qualify to reproduce. They travel back to the beach and essentially
perhaps somebody would also want to know, do they have some danger or any harm they cause to the human being?
Any harm they could cause?
Because naturally, you know, there
advantages
and disadvantages.
Given that they don't really interact a lot with human beings, yes, they don't really pose a major problem. Also remember that they are slow animals. They move very extremely slowly. Already we know that the land ones are slow, but the ocean ones are even slower than the land ones. So they don't really pose a major problem to us. We are instead the ones that are posing a very big problem to these creatures. We study them as a sign of Allah, an order of Allah to contemplate, so that we can be able to benefit out of that knowledge.
Wow, thank you very much. Dear viewer, we are looking at natural wonders of the ocean life, and as you can appreciate now that if we really took time to read, understand, and perhaps also visit places where these creatures are, your life cannot be the same. You can come out as a person who is rejuvenated in your faith, understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what needs or wants for us a given order that we should all try to respect and follow or abide by. So we want to encourage that if you've got the resources, by the of late, have you noted that we have so many people going for Umrah? In the first, it was a very hard thing, but it has become, which is a good advancement, perhaps, because in the past it was unheard of people going for Hajj and Umrah, but of late it has become simple. I think one other thing we need now to encourage our people is to go into tourism, traveling, right? Because if you do, one sheikh was comment, how could somebody make in a year we have 12 months, right? But find somebody every month is going for Umrah.
I think that has now radical.
It has become too much. But we encourage, if you Allah's given the opportunity to do Hijjah, then the Umrah, okay, you could do the one of Ramadan every year, which is encouraged. But then one of those visits, at least go and visit the what nature and try to appreciate. Go on domestic tourism.
Because the order is Siru, feel and once you move and see some of the miracles surrounding.
You know, in the past the sheikhs were telling us, how can somebody visit France, visit Australia, visit China without visiting the Kaaba? And we are saying today, some people have visited the Kaaba, they've gone to Medina. I think we also need to visit those other sites and natural places of nature to also understand Allah perfectly well. Viewer, we cannot exhaust more than that we have managed to present today. We just encourage you that you visit the Salam YouTube page, view the video, like it, and share with your colleagues. They also benefit. If you have comments, perhaps something you want to add, you can always go into the comment section, put in those comments. We shall be able to pick them up, and then in the next segment of the show, the next episode, we shall be able to respond to them before we continue to the next aspect. Otherwise, we want to thank you very much from where we started. We started with the salmon fish, and then ended with the sea turtles. I want to thank our guest always for making time to come and share with us. We want to pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards you abundantly. and you that spend their time, calculate is troublesome. Some people are watching it on data from our app. We want to appreciate you so much and pray that Allah rewards you for the means you spend learning something, because in Islam, whatever we do, we're searching for knowledge, or that is an act of worship that you'll benefit before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to wish you a very nice week. Today being a Monday, the first day of the week, we hope you have a lot of programs in the week. We pray that Allah enables you to accomplish them, and then those that have got challenges as the week is starting, pray that Allah alleviates them and then makes you also go over the week in the best way possible. Till next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, Salam TV.
Adhan ngekutuswako.
Hotel Africana. Come as a guest and leave as a friend.
Allahu Akbar, Allah.